Hello everyone, so it took me a little bit, but I finally watched all 11 episodes of Kung Fu Panda The Dragon Knights on Netflix. So of course that's where you'll find this show, but this is a sequel to, of course, the trilogy of Kung Fu Panda movies that have come out for the past, like, I think 15 years that this franchise has been going on for. So again, it takes place not too long after the third one, but Po is now established as the Dragon Lord. And each episode is around the 22 to 25-minute mark, so normal cartoon size. Jack Black returns to play Po, and we have Rita Ora playing the Dragon Knight, or Wandering Blade, if you want to call her that. Since there are a few more cast members that they bring to this, but really, without further ado, let me get into my review for Kung Fu Panda: The Dragon Knight on Netflix. So when I first heard about this series, I was super pumped for it because I think that the Kung Fu Panda trilogy is easily one of the best kind of trilogies and movies. It's really good. I love the animation. I love the characters. I love just, again, the passion for martial arts films and, of course, too, just Chinese culture that are within the movies. And love the characters. That is absolutely hilarious. Super epic, awesome, just great stories. And, again, just great fights, great animation all throughout. Unfortunately, I have to say that I didn't feel like most any of that was able to translate or transfer over into this show. But of course, this show follows Po, who partners with a really no-nonsense English knight named Wandering Blade, and she is basically on a mission to find a collection of 4 powerful weapons before a mysterious pair of weasels, also from Britain. So they're both from they're both from England, so she's there to find these 4 artifacts before they do and save the world from destruction because these 2 weasels plan to use the 4 weapons to essentially conquer and end the world. So they unwillingly team up at first, but kind of learn that they both need each other's mindsets, skill sets, strengths in order to accomplish this mission, and they go on a long journey all across China to do so. Sounds awesome, right? Unfortunately, for a lot of this, I found that it was just stretched out way too long in a lot of ways. There are a lot of characters that didn't really need to be in this. There's times where it was just overly silly, overly long. And unfortunately, too, like whenever they would travel to different regions of China in the movies, it was always a spectacle. The animation was fantastic. They went to locations that were just so beautiful and amazing to look at. It made you want to travel to China or transports to the like onto the screen with them because of how beautiful it is. But really, they're just in a bunch of barren landscapes that aren't really that interesting. They don't get into the history of the lands as they did again in the movies, and I found a lot of it was just really boring to look at, boring to watch, boring to listen to. There just really wasn't a whole lot in this film that was, sorry, this TV series that was getting me excited and that made me feel really upset and underwhelmed in a lot of the ways because, again, I truly, absolutely love the Kung Fu Panda series. And yeah, I just feel like a lot of the magic wasn't there. The voice performances are decent, but I find like this was Jack Black's least into role that he's been in terms of, again, just playing Po. Just didn't really feel like the magic or the energy that needs or that is Po was really there even through him, and I felt a little bit let down. I don't really want to knock his performance again, but it just, again, a lot of the magic and life that was in the films felt like it was sucked out of the show in so many ways, especially, again, just to the storytelling and the pacing of this. One thing I always loved about the movies, too, is I found that the villains were so great, but it's the kind of there's a bunch of villains that can make their way into the show. I think off the top of my head, there's 5, and none of them really left an impact on me or made me feel excited to see the rest of their stories, because there is going to be a season 2. It leaves it off on a bit of a cliffhanger. But yeah, just I wasn't intrigued by the villains, where I found that the first 3 films, all of them had villains that, again, just stick with me so much. And I remember the things they say, their missions, everything. I found they were all just fantastic villains, but none of them were able to leave any sort of mark on me this time around. And again, it was just something that felt really underwhelming. But then just made this show just not feel great. And a lot of what makes it not feel so great is that the animation sometimes is good, but never like consistent. So there'll be times where like maybe for 3 seconds there'll be something amazingly animated. There's one point in particular where there's just a giant stone creature that appears, and I found that the animation on that was really good. But then it goes back to almost like Ice Age animation, where everything just feels so like slow and choppy and like just not smooth at all when it comes to how these characters are moving and talking and just again navigating throughout the landscape. A lot of the time the background and everything just feels so empty, which I don't think China ever would in a lot of senses. It's just again, it feels very blanded. It almost feels like COVID affected the way the characters had to act in this. Just like how I said with the Ice Age movie that came out in January, I believe it was. I found the same thing here, where it just everything was so sparse and just didn't feel bustling and alive again like the movies did. And I understand that this is a show, didn't have the same budget, but I don't feel like this was the story that they should be telling if they want to continue Poe's story. They leave out a lot of things. There's no talk about the Furious Five or really just the duties of the Dragon Warrior, the Dragon Lord in this case now. It's just so much of that felt like it was just, I don't want to say shoehorned out, but just completely left in the background. And just a lot of this world felt missing, and a lot of what was missing is what gave the films a lot of the life that made me love them so much. So again, this was just really tough for me to get into. The final episode was pretty solid, and that's kind of what brings this together for me and makes it kind of give me the score that I'm going to. I think season 2 could be better, but we'll have to wait and see if it even gets renewed by Netflix and what they're going to do with it. But yeah, I just felt really empty and underwhelmed with the show, and with everything taken together, I'm gonna have to give it a 6 out of 10. I recommend it if you really like, of course, the Kung Fu Panda series, but I do feel like you will be disappointed in a lot of ways with it. This one's definitely a lot more geared towards kids, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I just found a lot of it didn't work. And again, to continue the story of Poe and all these characters in this world, this wasn't really an interesting way to do it. And I feel like there's just so many better ways that they could have done it, so many better stories that they could have told, and it probably would have been better in movie form. But again, this is what we have, so that's what I'm gonna have to give it for now. But of course, if you've seen Kung Fu Panda: The Dragon Knight on Netflix, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. And of course, if you like this review, definitely give it a thumbs up. And you can check out everything I do on my channel through a playlist down below, and I'll link some up top here for convenience sake. Thank you for subscribing and turning that little bell on so you know when I upload new videos. If you want to check out everything I do Twitch and live stream wise, there's a link to that in the description of this video, and of course my channel bio. And in both of those places, there's a link to the Media Mountain, which is my Discord, where we talk about movies, video games, comic books, TV, pretty much everything that's awesome in this world. So you can definitely join that amazing community. I'll make it even more amazing than this already. And yeah, just awesome, guys.
Sky blue eyes, I see a world behind them. No more time sinking into the silence.